Welcome to Classic Game Room, broadcasting from the Intergalactic Space Arcade in the United States. We call it the Sega Genesis. Most other places know it as the Sega Mega Drive. 16-bit powerhouse. High-grade multi-purpose use. It says it right there. Sega Mega Drive. Intelligent terminal, high-grade multi-purpose use. It plays games, it looks good, it impresses your friends. It slept with your neighbor's Super Nintendo. It's the Sega Mega Drive. With so many uses, the purposes are multifarious, which isn't even a real word, but it totally works. Now, if you've been watching this show for a while, you know that the Sega Genesis is my favorite video game console ever. And this is basically the same thing, except just in case you missed it, it says 16-bit right on the front of it. The Mega Drive is blinged out. Now, the games look exactly the same as Sega Genesis games, except they say Mega Drive, and frequently have slightly different artwork variations or title changes, as you can see here. And for what it's worth, even though this looks the same, I love the title Sega Mega Drive, which just sounds mega awesome. Is it better than Sega Genesis? I mean, just imagine if Mega Drive replaced the word Genesis in the English language. A lot of things would be more interesting, including Star Trek 2. Who's taking Mega Drive? God damn it, they're not getting my Sega! This is the Japanese Mega Drive. It outputs NTSC video and should work on an American television. So let's turn this thing on and play some Mega Drive video games. If it will turn on. Turn on. By the power of the Sega Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, SG-1000, and Master System, please turn on. Oh man, we have a problem. The Mega Drive was sent to the show by our friend Felicity in Worcestershire, England, and spent 3 months in U.S. Customs. No! In that time, I think someone forgot to feed it. It's dead. It's time to pour out a 40 in honor of the Sega Mega Drive, except it deserves better than a 40. How about a nice bottle of beer that I am surely not going to waste for those about to play Mega Drive? I salute you. Farewell, my friend. Anyway, for the rest of the review, we're going to replace the Sega Mega Drive with the Sega Genesis, which does play Sega Mega Drive games provided they're NTSC. And there's a lot of great Sega Mega Drive games. Like the Super Nintendo, it has a massive library of 16-bit titles, many of which are unbelievably awesome, like The Revenge of Shinobi and Sonic the Hedgehog. Others are just downright horrible but still fun to play. Games like Death Duel, Cyborg Justice. And I know we're all distracted by what's going on in the background. Man, this game is trippy, toki, going ape-spit. Those who love their 16-bit video games know that the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis has its own unique style, its special sound, its blast processing. You know who doesn't have blast processing? That's right, I'm pointing a finger at you, Neo Geo. While the Mega Drive and the Sega Genesis are basically the same, they do have subtle differences which are fun to point out. For one thing, the power supplies have different model numbers. That's not very exciting, but the differences on the front of them are, I love how the Mega Drive screams 16-bit and high-grade multi-purpose use, while the Genesis takes a more subtle approach and says Genesis high-definition graphics, which meant something very different in 1989. The backs of the units are also slightly different. The American Genesis has an additional switch and output for an RF adapter. And we can also notice some subtle styling differences here, like the blue reset button. The backs show that they have different stickers. The American one has a phone number to call if you need some help, while the Japanese one just assumes you'll never need help. Admittedly, I'm a Sega Genesis fanboy, which means that by default, I'm a Sega Mega Drive fanboy. With so many awesome games, how can I not be? Which is why I know many of you are also fanboys and fangirls with fan cats and fan dogs. And maybe even one Mega Drive fan alligator out there, somewhere. With ultra comfortable controllers, great styling, chunky graphics, bass-heavy music, and awesome games combined with questionable ones, the Mega Drive or the Sega Genesis is a 16-bit powerhouse. Truly high-grade, multi-purpose use. So thanks again to Felicity for sending the Mega Drive, and all of you who sent Mega Drive games, which fortunately play on a Genesis. While I'm not sure what happened to it in shipping, we'll give it a good home. We've had a good time together. We've laughed, we've cried, even if you didn't work. The Sega Mega Drive will always be mega awesome. Maybe he can merge with Edit Station 1 and form a new life form. Mega Station 1